Thank you for coming. Welcome to the April 9th council meeting. I'm showing at 7:32 p.m., Josephine. Would you please call the roll?
Ms. Jarrow.
Here.
Mr. Engel.
Here.
Ms. Hannikin.
Here.
Mr. Molnar. Ms. Tully.
Here.
All right, I would ask everyone to stand and please remove your hats as Council President Rita Darrow leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Jan Tully will say the prayer this evening.
Invocation. What is an invocation? It's an appeal to a higher power for help, a prayer for blessing or guidance. What I'm going to read tonight are quotes from an invocation given by a Mr. Herb Silverman before another city council. As we work together on behalf of all who live in the city, may we gain strength and sustenance from one another through reason and compassion. There we are gathered with the shared belief that we must treat our fellow human beings with respect and dignity, that we don't close our eyes, but keep them constantly open to the serious issues that we can and should solve or improve, that we don't bow our heads, but look up at what we can accomplish. To quote President Truman, it's remarkable how much you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit. Amen.
All right, do we have any changes to the minutes? If not, do I have a motion to accept?
Yes, Don, I do have some changes. Executive session, in 2 weeks ago, the purpose of considering complaints against a public employee or official. I would like, in the minutes, charges to be removed. I did not state that. I need a second, don't I? Josephine?
Second.
Josephine, right? Do I need a second? Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sylvia, you seconded?
She did.
Okay.
She did. Would
All
you
right,
like to be all in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anything else?
So that's it. You're accepting the minutes as amended.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe I stated executive session for the purposes of considering
Yeah, I
the
deleted,
complaint.
I did, the word
Okay.
will be deleted out of it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so do you make a motion to accept, Rita?
Yes.
I'll
Do I have a
second the
second?
motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, next part of our meeting is going to be comments by the public. We always ask you to sign in. We have a sign-in sheet. We ask you if you would please come to the front. We have a microphone right here for you. Give your name, your address. And Vince, could you please watch it? We keep it at about 5 minutes per person. First on the list is Bernie Bell.
Objections to the proposed Ambassador International Soccer Stadium positioned between the railroad tracks and 50 feet from the residential property lines along South Bedford Road. To the best of our knowledge, their 500-foot-long building is too long at 70 feet, too tall at 70 feet, and too close with hundreds of parking spaces just 50 feet from our property lines to meet LI zoning limitations. However, even if they conform, we have other issues. Macedonia LI zoning limits recreational facilities specifically to private recreational facilities. The zoning board thought that meant private ownership, and if it was privately owned, any indoor recreational use would be within LI zoning. By contrast, every definition we have found instead says it refers to use, not ownership, and is referring to a homeowners association rec center, or a private membership-only club, such as a membership-only soccer club. The term used is therefore to instead distinguish it from open to the public and commercial use, regardless of who owns it. Why would anyone care whether something bordering their property was owned privately or publicly? We only care about how the activity impacts us, which is use. The only Macedonia zoning which states the broader use recreation is B3, which is not limited by private. B3 is defined as, quotation marks, this district includes activities which, because of their nature, tend to have large volume of traffic and large parking requirements, as well as attracting businesses from a large surrounding area, end of quote. B3 also allows structures to be up to 80 feet tall. We believe this is exactly what Ambassador is proposing, 50 feet from our property lines, and requires B3, not LI. Nearby communities use more clarity in their definitions. For example, Hudson in section 126.03, number A13, quote, private recreational and play facilities for use of the residents of the property and their guests. Number A14, private greenhouses, not for commercial purposes. Number B12, private recreational facilities for use by employees and their guests, end of quote. It is clear in all of these definitions that when preceded by private, it means not open to the public and not for commercial use. Unlike a private recreational facility, Ambassador is proposing to not limit participation to their membership, but to also rent it out with no limitations on who the occupants would be, nor for what activity. It scares us that they also specifically requested prior approval to be open 7 days a week until 12 midnight, 50 feet from our property lines. Is this really about soccer moms and church-going kids, or something quite different? Fun and Stuff, which has been around for many years and is in the farthest corner of our LI zone, is clearly in violation of Macedonia LI zoning, but it doesn't impact us. It is unclear whether the Planning Commission or BZA overlooked or approved this because they are situated far from residential homes. Regardless, we residents don't buy into the argument that Fun and Stuff set a precedent for something that would be 50 feet from our property lines. If a business put up a sign double the zoning limit and it went unnoticed for 30 years, would that set a precedent for all future signs in that zone? We think not. This is way more than a sign, and we are counting on the city representatives to do what is right and within the zoning.
Bernie, can I have a copy of that, please?
Yeah, I'll give you half a
Thank
dozen.
you. All right, next is, Bev Sexton.
That would be.
Yes,
Good
ma'am.
evening. I'm kind of playing off his speech as well. In regard to the zoning issue for the property on Highland Point Parkway, we are perplexed that our request for a determination is being ignored and pushed aside. We have spent a lot of time researching zoning codes and definitions. We have submitted them to various city personnel on numerous occasions, including the law department, with no response. Our questions and concerns were presented 2 months ago. Per our meeting on February 9th with representatives from the Planning Commission, we outlined why we feel the proposed soccer facility is inappropriate in an LI zoning area. This prompted an email to the law department which stated, I'm paraphrasing, this issue needs determination that would regulate if it was zoning compliant in LI zoning district. The residents feel it is not and would be better suited to a B3. Our planner, Brian Franz, indicated that he would prefer that you be involved in this issue of determination of use, public or private. And Mr. Deemert's reply was, we will take a look at research and get back to you. That was on February 10th. Excuse me. What is the economic benefit to the city of Macedonia? The city is the trustee for the subject parcel of land. If the property is sold to Ambassador, the city will realize a one-time tax benefit. Because they are a nonprofit organization, they will likely claim an income tax exemption. How can that be a long-term goal for increasing revenue? It is disheartening to think that the city of Macedonia would allow a facility of the size and scope that Ambassador proposes adjacent to residential property in LI zoning. We feel this would be in violation of our LI zoning ordinance protection. A huge international soccer facility with a use considered both commercial and public cannot be considered a private recreation facility. We submit that approving Ambassador's business model, which fully requires B3 zoning, would be injurious to our premises and contrary to the community's best interest. This would set a precedence that residents can no longer rely on zoning protection if this administration allows public use under LI zoning. I'm just wondering when we can get a response from the
Well,
law
it's
department.
interesting that you brought that up, because you gotta realize, the first thing is here, this is a sale, and the conditions of the sale have not been worked out. As of yesterday, was it yesterday, Dave, or today that we were talking? Emails.
Well, I think it was yesterday.
Yesterday.
That the email, but I thought, they're coming to planning next week, right?
Yeah, they'll be coming to planning, and we were notified of that. And I wrote an email to our law department saying, please provide this information. If they're coming, we didn't know if they were coming because the deal might have fell through.
I understand, but
Okay.
the use issue applies to the land. It doesn't apply to whom buys it.
Sure.
With all due respect.
Yes,
How many
please.
residents do we have in the city?
9,000 something?
We have
11,000.
9,000 residents calling the law department for an opinion that requires extensive research, incurring legal fees on behalf of the city. We wouldn't be able to afford a law department. We work for council, we work for the mayor. We have to be directed in order to undertake those kinds of activities. And we have, and there's an opinion that will be forthcoming, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the planning commission's decision. Make sense? We can't work directly for you. We work under the charter for the mayor and council. Makes sense?
Tom, I think,
I
not to
think
interrupt you, I
you're-
think she's brought this to the issue because the mayor had said some time ago that the opinion
Well,
was
we're
going to
being
go.
accused of not answering.
I
We're
was-
working on it.
I
We're
was-
trying to answer for the mayor, for council, and for planning commission. We can't answer directly the residents because there's 9,000. Does that make sense at all?
Well, I honestly, I was sitting in the discussions before,
said
and
that?
I was under the impression,
Yeah, you
Tom,
have to hire your own attorney.
let me just say this, Tom, in response. I think that there was an assurance given that there would be an opinion forthcoming,
There's an opinion forthcoming.
but, let me finish. Before we get to the point where we're at the planning commission, that they would have some notification on what the opinion was going to
Who's
be,
they?
the
The
residents
residents.
from this area. No,
Don't
I'm not
supply
said
the opinion
you,
to the residents.
Right.
I beg to differ with you, but we don't supply the
no,
opinion to the
I did
residents.
not say that. What I said is that they would be
Sylvia,
provided.
nobody said that.
It's
Nobody said
the email here says, this is from Mr. Deemer.
And what does it say?
We will take a look at research and get back to you.
There you go.
2 months.
2 months.
Is that a fair amount of time?
Well,
Yes, that's a
during-
fair amount of time, given the amount of work that the law department has.
All
Well, it's an
right,
extremely
Tom,
fair amount of
Tom,
time.
just, you know what? We did not even know we had a sale as late as 3 days ago before, that we may not even have anything there, period. So there wasn't a pressure to get this right away. There were other things going on that the law department handled. Now that we've been notified they're coming before planning, we will have an answer.
Are you saying we'll have the opinion before the planning meeting?
It's kind of a horse and quarter wagon.
Well, that's what the mayor, I thought, was saying.
You have exactly what the response is from the mayor and from Joe Deemer, that he's going to do this.
So, that's what I'm trying to understand, is the opinion going to be available for planning?
No.
Mayor, do you know that?
No, I asked for the opinion
All right.
to be presented to the planning commission prior to the meeting.
Remember, the
So-
genesis behind all of this is that this piece of property went into foreclosure some almost 20 years ago. There was probably a $485,000 back tax account on that property. lawsuit was filed by the developer against the owner of the property at that time who was going to build on it.
Tom, put the mic by you. Thank you.
The court made a ruling that the city would become the trustee of the property. We don't own the property. Nobody owns the property at the present time. Basically, the court owns it. The instructions given to the city was to market and sell the property. So for the last 15, 20 years, that's exactly what the city's been doing. And this prospective purchaser did enter into I don't know if it was an option or a memorandum of understanding with the purchase of the property. And I believe it's all conditioned upon approval from the Planning Commission. So if there's no approval from the Planning Commission, and that's the independent arbitrator that everybody's got to address. If the ambassador wants to address the independent judge, that's the party to go to. They could be asking us, as a prospective resident or property owner, for an opinion. To avoid that kind of conflict, that's the party that needs to be addressed. So if they're going to address it and they have the ability to address it, or if their attorney wants to address it, so be it.
But
If the residents want to do that, then as well, they need to address it at that point in
Do you
time.
not think that the use should
I'm
be
not talking about any
established?
moves. I didn't go into to that particular issue. I know that with regards to the argument of no taxes, my question is, how many taxes you making off the property now?
Well, let me ask.
Nothing.
Let me ask.
Absolutely nothing.
Let me ask you this
Sylvia,
question.
excuse me, I've got the floor.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question when you're done. Thank you.
That's great. No taxes are being earned from that property now.
And no taxes in the future, you're saying?
Yes.
So where are you? You're
My
in the same
argument as
spot.
well.
Come in with a buyer then, a different buyer that'll have employees and that'll have income tax. The fact of the matter
I'd like
is,
to buy the property behind my house.
sir,
Yeah, we need to keep some kind of order here. You know,
I'm just trying to explain to you that the tax argument is probably not a valid argument. And we're going to be paid out of the proceeds of the sale if the sale is approved, if the
A
zone.
one-time return, right?
Yeah.
It's a one-time.
What do you have now? Nothing. Nobody's done anything except this administration to try to sell this property. Nothing.
Tom,
Yes.
can I ask you a question now?
Can I also explain something else too with regards to the zoning and the use and the restrictions of the L1 zoning? Do you realize that this is a sex district? It's approved for sex district?
Oh, so we could have a brothel there.
Well, you can't have
My
a
gosh.
brothel, but you could have a nightclub, a strip club. You could have a drive-in theater there. Take a look at the code. It was specifically placed in L1 districts. So that's a weak argument too. We're saying that the L1 district protects you. It's the most broadest, not loosest zoning area that we have in the city, including that's where council put the sex district in the L1 district.
I have
Okay.
no idea.
If I may, I want to
go.
ask my
Okay.
question before we move on, which is, there is a sales agreement pending from what I'm reviewing, and what I want to know is, does the council have to approve the sale of this
No.
property? You're saying we do not?
Correct, because the city doesn't own the property. It would
Well,
have.
we're a trustee of the property, though.
That's what I said. The city doesn't own the property. We would have to bring it to council, and council would have to, by ordinance, approve it if, in fact, the city owned the property.
Well, I understand that. You're saying, though, as I want to clarify tonight, that,
Yes, that's exactly what I said.
Right.
Let me say it again. We don't own the property,
Well,
so
I-
council doesn't need to weigh in on this particular matter by way of an ordinance
so
by
if
law.
there is, if
The
there...
judge had ordered that we sell the property. We're following the court order
Right.
of the lawsuit that existed some
Well, I
20,
understand
15
that, you
years
don't
ago.
have to write it in crayons. What I'm saying is this: if you determine that this conforms with LI zoning to have...
We don't determine that.
Okay, so somebody's determining that.
Planning Commission.
Okay, and the planning commission would say that this building has the potential to say this building, which is not conforming, as far as I can see, to LI zoning, would be approved because they can change the zoning, or what are we saying?
I don't know what you're saying.
Well, let me try to
All I could tell you is whatever
clarify.
issues exist, those approvals have to be granted and determined by the planning commission.
Right.
So they don't need a legal interpretation of use then, from your department, is that what
No,
you're saying?
they haven't asked for one.
Well, Mr. Hanslick,
Okay, that
Well, the
changes.
mayor.
isn't it true, if the property
No,
or the
you
building,
don't do anything.
Mr. Hanslick?
Am I talking or are you talking, or are they talking?
No, I'm just
wait,
making a
wait.
comment.
That's a bad comment to
That's
make,
what it sounds
because
like
it's
to
not just
us.
doing anything. They
Please,
make decisions because they follow the
please.
law.
Please,
The city can do
stop.
whatever it wants.
Stop.
Who's the
Is it
city?
not true, Mr. Hanslick, in general, if a parcel is zoned X,
Right,
whatever fits into X can go in there?
right.
The only way to change it is if the residents put on the ballot to change X
Correct.
to something different, to rezone. It then, and that was something that we changed, that the residents overall have to vote, but more so the people that reside in that zoning district have to approve. So that you can't have an outside influence come in and say, I want to change X to Y, and everybody in the city votes yes, but the residents within that does not.
Correct.
So if they conform, there's not a lot of leg that we can stand on, because we've put in place over the years, through the Future Growth Committee, we looked at how things were zoned. There have been things that have been to the ballot for zoning with the senior citizen housing, those kinds of things. The other thing is, if this is the way it's zoned, could it be residential property? I look to Mike.
I don't know.
No. So if the residents wanted to purchase it, you have an option to purchase it as a consortium. They could not develop into homes.
No.
But it could only be light industrial. Is that what it is? Okay.
I'm not sure that I'm following that, because I think the planning commission can modify the zoning, if, as long as it's not residential one to something else. I believe that they can, in fact, modify the zoning.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Not according to
Well,
our laws.
I'm going to clarify this, but I was told that the people had to vote on anything where we would change something from residential to another
To
zoning.
something less
That's
restrictive.
exactly
Yes,
what I
something
just
lesser.
said.
Right.
But LI already exists over there, so that's not residential.
No, I think Jan was saying, could the residents purchase it and
Well,
turn
no,
it
no,
into
no, no.
residential?
No, what
And
I
the
ju-
answer is no.
Right.
It-
What I just
Can't.
stated is, whatever it is zoned as, the planning commission has the authority to approve what fits within that zoning. If they ask for variances, such as they had asked for the height, that then has to be either denied or go to the BZA. But if I fit within the L1,
Right. And
they have the right to approve that. We don't have the right to deny it because that zoning allows it. My statement was, if you wanted it to be something than other L1, it must go to the vote of the people to change the zoning. It has to go on the ballot. It's not something that council can change. That law's been in effect.
I agree that the residents, you can't change anything from a residence district to a lesser zoning. I do not recall that you can't change LI to something else without going to council. But I will go look at that again. My question to you is not whether, if it clearly did not conform to LI when they first proposed it in January. It clearly did not. They said they were reworking it so that it would improve their proposal. Have we got a new proposal at this point? It's going to the planning commission.
There are plans. I received the plans tonight.
Okay, so you-
I haven't looked at them, but I just know there's a big packet of plans here.
Okay, so if the residents could be provided those, would that be out of order?
I don't think it would be. I suppose
Why don't
you
we
have to
allow
ask the
them
law
to
department.
see those, because the previous plans clearly did not conform with LI, and even the soccer group ambassador basically said they didn't. So I think if we're going to have a meeting, why not have everybody included? It's transparency to all.
Beth,
Mr.
you want
Hanselak.
to say something? You can get up to the microphone again.
Could I just ask one question before you start? There's no problem with them having plans, is that right, Tom?
No.
Okay, I'll give you my plans tonight. I'm not gonna be in town over the weekend. If someone would get them back to me next week, so I have time to look at them.
Sir, or I can give them this one.
Is that okay, Tom?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
I don't have them, but.
I have the plans. I'm asking you if I'm
Oh,
allowed
yeah,
to do
no-
that.
No problem.
Great.
Go ahead, Deb.
so what you're saying, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Tom, was it? Is that the planning commission determines if the public use of an international soccer facility is appropriate in LI zoning, is that correct?
No, I didn't say that. Here's what I'm saying is that whatever application is going before them, they have the ability to approve it in part, in whole, or deny it.
Okay,
And then it's due process. So they've got, the applicant has the ability to make their case. Any individuals against the position of the applicant can make their case. A decision is made, and then that can be appealed.
okay, and how do we go about making a case then? Do we do that at the planning
Yes.
commission meeting?
Yeah.
Okay,
At
and
the
we,
meeting.
so we present a presentation, I'm not sure how that works. So is it a presentation that we give, or how
can-
is it?
Yes, I mean, there's an ability to speak, just like there is now. So it could be a presentation. There
Okay.
could be documents that would be presented. If you're talking about legal definitions, the broad term of the word legal, any past situations that might be applicable, that would be in, that would support your position, those could be presented to the planning commission.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a quandary. If the planning commission, if it conforms to the zoning and the planning commission says no, are we liable for anything because we've entered into this?
Entered into what?
We've entered into discussions of them purchasing the property.
Mayor, I think that
Oh,
I'm almost positive that the sales agreement, which is not executed yet, it's not finalized, has a clause in it that this is conditioned upon approval by the planning commission.
All right,
Could somebody sue you for $75? You know they can. That I can't tell you that we'd be liable. All I could tell you is that, are you opening yourself up for a potential lawsuit? You always do, but as you know, every day, everything we do is a potential lawsuit.
all right, well, when is that meeting? That's in a week,
the 20th, yeah.
20th,
Oh, the 20th.
20th. All right,
It's at 5:30.
Yeah.
I think that was longer than 5 minutes, but it's okay. All right, yeah. Next on the list is John Matajasic.
Mayor, Council, good evening. I live at 1186 River Run Drive, and I wish to address a phone call I received from Councilman Nick Molnar on Saturday, March 14th at 3:18 p.m. Although that was his first call, apparently Mr. Molnar feels the way to handle an issue that does not cast him in a good light and which he can't control is to threaten and try to intimidate. I could tell from the moment Mr. Molnar spoke that there was a tone in his voice that caught my attention. Mr. Molnar made it very clear that he was not happy with the opinions I had voiced at the last council meeting and then went on to make several accusations. I repeatedly tried to tell Mr. Molnar that my statements before council were based on what has and continues to occur within Lake Forest Estates, our face-to-face communication and his false representation of himself. But Mr. Molnar refused to listen to reason. Apparently, Mr. Molnar was not getting the response he wanted, so he resorted to a threat of unleashing the beast on me. Unbeknownst to Mr. Molnar, I had my telephone on speaker and my wife was listening to the whole conversation. So when Mr. Molnar threatened to unleash the beast, my wife interrupted him and asked why he was threatening me. Surprised by the fact that my wife was a witness to his unprofessional, perhaps unlawful behavior, Mr. Molnar backtracked and tried to talk his way out of his threat. However, my wife assured him that she heard and understood the threat he made. Mr. Molnar then stated he was recording our conversation and blurted out that in some way I threatened him. Then Mr. Molnar started questioning me about where I got the rocks for the creek in my yard. He asked if the rocks naturally lined up straight in the creek and if I had altered them in some way. He went on to mention that I was in violation of some Lake Forest Estates Homeowner Association rule and some city law. Apparently, Mr. Molnar did not do any research before he made his statements as I had sat down with Mr. Ladd on 7/20/11 with drawings and pictures in hand as to what was being done. I also was required to purchase a $250 permit to place the sand and dirt from the creek on a steep slope on the left side of my property. I told Mr. Molnar to check with the OSP because I've never ever flagged as a violator of a nature preserve, unlike 38 other residents in my neighborhood. It's odd that Mr. Molnar was all of a sudden showing so much concern about our HOA declarations. Mr. Molnar did not care when he had verifiable information that our HOA president, Kevin Bilkey, was blatantly violating our declarations. Mr. Molnar has been completely silent until now. Coincidence? I think not. So 38 minutes into the call, the phone disconnected. A minute later, Mr. Molnar called back and resumed for another 16 minutes. It was a non-productive dialogue because Mr. Molnar spent most of his time making accusations and trying to justify his positions that have proven time and time again to show no merit. At the 16-minute mark, I had enough and hung up. Then my wife and I discussed and documented what transpired on the call. I am providing the latest 2 OSP reports for verification. I will give one to the building commissioner and I will give to council. The verified at 1186 and 1196 are not and have never been in violation before since the erosion and flooding protection job in the creek. The OSP reports will show who the building department needs to visit to correct damage done to our nature preserve. I've always spoken the truth about Mr. Molnar's behavior and actions, and now his attempt to threaten me speaks loudly of his flawed character. Trying to lie his way out of this threatening phone call he made to me is not going to change the facts of what transpired. Mr. Molnar's actions have proven he is not fit to sit on council and represent the residents of the city in any capacity. His threat is just a sampling of his distorted view of whom and what his role is as a council person. I'm going to provide information here about Mr. Molnar, Jan Tully, and the mayor's view, how they view their positions as representatives of the city. They do not view nominating ethical, moral candidates of sound character for appointed positions in the city as important responsibilities and duty to the residents. Mr. Molnar and Jan Tully voted yes to the mayor's attempted appointment of our now ex-HOA president, Kevin Bilkey. I'd like to share with the residents Kevin Bilkey's credentials. He filed documents to the Planning Commission and Building Department with no authority from our residents. He lied to the mayor, Planning Commission, when asked if he had authority to fill out documents. Note, the mayor still approved the project even though documentation was provided to verify Mr. Bilkey had no authority and he was lying. To add to the mix, Mr. Ladd provided a permit to Kevin Bilkey even though he had the same information the mayor and council had. And to add to the ineptness, for property the HOA is not owner of record. Kevin Bilkey lost $13,000+ in June and did not tell 120 residents until March 2015. He then confessed he had no authority to build a patio at the cost of $28,000. Total loss to the residents, $37,000+. Kevin Bilkey has proven he could not be trusted with our HOA money, and the duties of our fiduciary board member was a hand-picked candidate for a position within the city. The residents of the city should be outraged by what is and has been going on in this city and within this administration. I once again ask the mayor, Jan Tully, and Nick Molnar to resign. Stop embarrassing our city, yourself and your families, as the residents of the city deserve much better than what you prove you can offer. One last note I'd like to make. Apparently there is scuttlebutt that Mr. Bilkey is going to run for council with the help of Nick Molnar. I'm going to give this to the residents. I warned the residents of Lake Forest Estate about Kevin Bilkey, and it cost them big. And now I'm affording the residents of the city the same warning.
All right, next on the list is Kevin Bilkey.
How about that? How about that?
How you doing? My name is Kevin Bilkey. I live in 7995 Brook Circle. I didn't know I was going to be so popular tonight. I had no idea that I was going to be brought up like this. I came up here to ask where we were at with the termination of the finance director. I missed the meeting 2 weeks ago. If you can update me, I'd appreciate that.
It's on being held for another investigation to take place.
Okay. So what does that mean? Was it held, I think you told me it was held at a first reading,
Yes.
so that means it's not going to be decided on until when?
Until the report is available from the second investigation.
Which
When
is
do you-
what, in about a week or two?
It'll be there's been a little bit of delay due to an illness at the City Hall, but it should be, the investigation, interview should be done by the end of next week, and we're anticipating then the following week.
Okay, I have a couple other questions. I read that that the council has paid out of their own personal bank accounts to
That's
run.
correct.
Was that recorded in any minutes that you guys were gonna pay? Is it a third or is it 1/5 each?
No, we didn't record anything in minutes, we just said that we were.
Where Mr. Molnar and Mr. Tully asked to help pay for it? I mean,
No, they
even
were
given
not.
the-
No, they were not.
So you three decided that it was gonna come out
It
of
would-
your bank accounts in a,
Right.
not
That's
at a
correct.
council meeting, not at a work session, but
We determined
And
that
over coffee?
we were going to hire these folks. We did ask for a purchase order that was refused.
okay. So during this time, is the finance director still getting paid?
Well,
the
that
city?
has nothing to do with this.
Well, is it yes or no?
Well, of course he is. He's
Okay.
on paid administrative leave.
Okay, that's what
That-
I wanted to know.
Okay.
So I'll be back in a couple weeks, thanks.
Next is Robert Scott.
Both you guys have had the floor already, please be quiet.
Hi, I'm Robert Scott. I live in Lake Forest Estates. I've lived in Macedonia. May will be 1 year. I'm very proud to be a Macedonia resident. I've worked with pretty much every department over here and been 100% pleased. The police have been to my house. Unfortunately, EMS has been to my house. I worked with Mike in his department a lot, building my home, and been nothing but pleased. Service director, all winter long, it's been 20 degrees out, potholes are getting crazy, 30 degrees hits, and he's got crews out there fixing. As far as the council goes, it seems like there's some sort of disconnect within the city. I get a lot of emails, unproductive emails, about the sand issues. And one email I'd like to quote. Well, it had it, but it was from Jim saying the sand does not impede the flow of water in Lake Forest Estates. In the back of my house, where all the creeks come together, there are sand deposits which are now eroding towards my house. It is changing the flow of the water. And fortunately, I was able to get a variance for my setback. But I want you guys to know that it is an issue. It's not just one resident looking up satellite images. You know, that's one resident who's done a lot of work. Maybe his delivery of the information might be construed, but you know, the sand is a big issue. It's been talked about for years, I understand. The EPA has commented on it. And Jim was nice enough to invite me to walk the creek with him today, with Nick. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to make that, but I did want to point that out to you, that it does impede the flow of water, and it is changing the course of the creeks. And it is now moving towards my house. From some of the satellite images that John was able to produce from the past, you could see where the creek used to be and where it is now. The creek's not even on the stream preserve. It's now in my backyard. And I knew that going into it, but I didn't know it was going to be that severe. And watching the sand build up and it continuing to move closer to my home, it's scary. And the scariest part is it's been going on for so long, been talked about for so long. I don't know how long John has worked on this, 5 years. The 2011 email from the EPA stating that a retention basin of some sort should be upstream in Twinsburg Township. I know you guys have talked about it in January. I think I was here and you talked about it. And so you said you'd like to find out where the problem is and make it
Yes.
stop.
Right, I would. I would. I
Nick could address.
no matter, you know, I know we're getting
I think we
sand
all would.
samples, you know.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't want to interrupt you, but maybe right now would be a good time for our engineer and Jim to talk about what they did today, because we discussed it in our work session quite a
Right.
bit. So, Nick, could you fill them in a little bit on what you told us in the work session?
Yeah, so we talked about the source of the sand and what we feel to be the cause of the erosion, where it's coming from. And we continue to believe that it's coming from the stream bed. We have reinitiated dialogue with the EPA again. And they will not, the EPA will not be subpoenaing any samples from Medina Supply. Their opinion is the same as it has been since 2011. They have no reason to believe that the sand's coming from that location. So, I mean, basically, the recommendation stands as it did in 2011 in order to try to mitigate the rate of erosion, because you'll never stop it entirely. The detention pond issue is on the table if you want to try to slow down the rate of erosion.
Where would that be located? Is that like up by the industrial parkway?
Correct, just to the west of the cul-de-sac.
Do you have that picture, Jim?
Here, here's a picture, you can keep that. This shows you what's coming from supposedly Medina Supply. You don't see any sand. It's not coming from Medina Supply.
Yeah.
It is coming from the area as we determined from Twinsburg Township. But as we discussed, and there has to be further discussion with council and other people, that there's considerable cost. What's happening is you're getting more water coming from that area, and it's causing the erosion. This is a rock. This is what's in your stream bed.
Yeah.
And when water hits it, that's what happens. That's exactly what's happening. It's eroding what's there. So it's eroding it at a faster rate. But it is natural.
It is natural,
Yeah.
and those, when
And
do
you
you
can
think
keep
those
these if you
rocks,
want.
when do you think this rock formation, how old do you think the rock formation is?
It could have been here when the dinosaur were here. I don't,
Exactly.
I can't
Exactly,
make that.
so, you know, I understand, especially after a freeze thaw,
Mhm,
when the
sure.
past 2 winters we've had,
Yeah,
you know, it's pretty tough on sandstone,
sure it is.
especially when it's cracked. But, you know, that sand is not just coming from here. And I think we can all agree that the sand that's in these creek beds is not coming from just these rock beds. It's gotta be coming from up by these cul-de-sacs.
Well, the only way, what we're going to do is, I'm just gonna get samples from, and I'm gonna have companies come in and take the samples from up that area in different sections of the creek, all the way to John's house. And we'll know where those samples are coming from and what the sand is. And, you know,
Let me
from
ask you
every
this.
area.
It could be coming from point A or point B. If it's coming from point A, is there a plan in place? If it's
You're
coming from
looking
point
at-
B, is there a plan put in
You
place?
have more than one community involved here. That's something that, you know, really has to be looked into. And they're gonna have a meeting.
Because I could only imagine how long it would take council, if council's working with this for something to happen. It doesn't seem like this group works very well together.
No, you can't say that, because in this
No, I can
instance,
say it.
well, you could say that, but in this instance, I don't care what council you have 2 communities here,
Yeah, I
possibly
understand.
3.
Yeah.
So, that's an issue, because it's coming from, Twinsburg Township is part of this, and the industrial part. There's just more flow of water, and we have to prove all this stuff.
Yeah.
You have to
Now,
prove it.
the part up in Twinsburg Township, was everything put in place as designed originally?
That, we
As far
don't
as
know.
storm management and
They would have to do a survey or look into all that.
Well, like we talked about,
Have you
it,
looked
those-
into that, John?
The
You
only
look
thing
into a
that
lot
there's-
of things,
What
I'm
has
sure it's-
transpired from the time I moved here in 2008, the volume of water that comes into that water.
So you haven't looked into the city of Twinsburg, that was the question.
No, they don't, but you understand, no one's wanted to address it though. You understand, since this came up where they had to clean the pipe out in 2010, we're still halfway with sand. from that point to where we're at right now, we're no farther ahead or anything. I know what you're saying is, where are we going from here, but what have we done since the pipe was filled with sand?
These rock formations,
Can I
are these?
say one thing, first of all? I'm the gentleman that found the manhole cover that was in John's yard. I found it. It was buried, okay? And when we opened it up, there was no sand in the pipe. There was debris, logs, branches, all that type of stuff. And it's designed that way.
Yeah.
There's a dog lake at his driveway. Water is the inlet, is in his front yard. It goes maybe 15, 20 feet, there's a dog lake. It's designed to stop everything there so that it doesn't interfere with flow throughout the rest of the system. Okay? When we discovered all that, we took the debris out and everything else. We didn't take out 1 ounce of sand, and I was there.
I would
So-
assume the back pressure of water would push sand through.
It would push it through,
Yeah.
number one. We took out debris, and I don't know how many times I can say that, logs, branches, trees, that's what blocks the pipe. So what we have done, we have put John's house on we have a system. We go to all the different culverts where we know flooding has existed before. So even today, one of my men, my foreman, John Nadavach, went to John's house, checked everything out. The pipes were fine. If there was any debris there, the men would have went there and they'd have cleaned it up, but there wasn't. And the flowing was fine, and there's been some heavy rains the last few days. So everything's good. And my contention has been, and I have many years doing this, the sand has not caused any flooding in Lake Forest. And that's what this is about. I don't have any complaints for basements flooding. I don't have any complaints about yards flooding. I don't have any at all, zero. What I'm gonna start next week, which was gonna be in my report, I'm fixing something that should have been done 5 years ago. And that's the outlet wall that's there. That's so dangerous, I don't even know why anybody even talked about it.
That's
You have
really
children
bad.
there. You have children, you
By the
have
first
animals,
lake.
and nobody said a word about that. We're worried about sand that does not interfere with anything.
We have brought that up, haven't we?
Yeah,
We're
but we're
fortunate to be
taking
a
care
part
of
of the
I want you
homeowners
to know,
association there, which is.
next week, and in my report,
Might be
I'm
a bad
telling
idea.
you, Monday, there will be equipment there to start taking care of that wall. And by next week, that wall won't exist, and it's gonna be the way it should have been in the first place.
Great.
But we are working on the sand. Nick and I and Mike have talked to council, and they are gonna have a meeting, and we have to find a solution, but right now, it's not causing any flooding problems.
If
But
you-
I see your concerns. though.
If you guys are more than welcome to come into my property and look at my
You
backyard.
probably walked it.
You know, it's a playground, it's a sandbar. I mean, it's probably
Sure.
from here to the
Would you,
wall.
would you
12
be
feet long.
opposed to one day next week, taking a walk with me and Mike?
If I'm
Yeah,
available,
why
yeah.
don't you give me your schedule, and me and Nick will accommodate it. You tell us when you can do it, and we'll accommodate you.
Are
Is that
these-
all right, Nick?
Are these the rock?
Those are in the-
rock face, the cliff? Is
No,
that-
that's a boulder that's in the stream itself.
So that
When the water's-
sandstone cliff wall that's back there, is that
That's also
Macedonia?
No.
No.
Corporate
That's-
boundaries at the rear
Right.
property lines.
Twinsburg Township.
So no matter where the sand's coming from, Macedonia's not gonna do anything about it, they'll just be looking into other cities to do something
No,
about
no,
it?
no, no. I didn't say that.
Well,
We
I'm
would,
just
we
asking.
would have to work with the other cities. This is something that, you know, and it's up to council how far they want to go with this. I mean, we have to work with other communities, and we have a good relationship. I have a very good relationship with Twinsburg Township, but, you know, you have to work this, you know, you're talking about different communities now, and
Well, I appreciate it.
they would have to work
So-
together. But next week, give me your schedule.
will.
And we'll walk it. And maybe by us showing you some of these things, maybe you can appreciate what we're talking about and understand the increased flow of water is causing a lot of that.
Okay.
But, you know, I understand your concerns, trust me, I really do.
Okay,
It's
I appreciate
amazing
it.
what you can see there.
Yeah. So thank you, that was about it, and I just hope next council meeting, there's not, there's, that you guys seem like you could work together. It just doesn't seem like this council works together. I hope that changes over the years.
But we do work together, and I think we work fine together. We pass, almost every bit of the legislation is passed by all of us, by the majority of this council.
Some of the
It
emails I
just-
get from
yeah,
like
those are
Forest
just
Estates and
emails.
stuff like that, yeah, it seems like we're very combative and unproductive and.
Right, well, there's
unprofessional
only a
at
few
times.
people that are responding in them emails. There's not, the majority of this council is not responding in them emails, so.
Right.
I know, I think I have put out maybe one or two, but mine are not mean emails at all.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking about, actually, in terms of emails to Lake Forest. I've responded factually to.
Well, a lot of it has to do with the sand and swale and.
Yeah, well,
But they're
we
not
work
really
for-
emails.
Is a
But I don't
big
recall anything that
thorn.
was unpleasant or unfactual in the emails that I've seen from council members.
Well, I guess in my opinion, I guess.
Right.
Okay, well, then you have to give me a specific example then.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, next on the list is Joseph Jenkins. Joseph?
Good evening, Council, Mayor. My name is Joe Jenkins. I'm a Government Affairs Specialist for the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. I will be brief. The reason why I'm out here this evening is because I'm leading the suburban outreach with the sewer district. I've been with the district for a short amount of time. I'm doing my first round throughout our member communities. The reason why I wanted to come out now that the weather's a little bit better is to introduce myself, put a face with the name. I understand that my boss, Julius Chach, is pretty well known. He's been around for a while. Some of you guys may have relationships with him individually, but I wanted to come out in person to provide some contact information to the council, the mayor, and make sure that you know you can use me as a resource. Now, before I came here, I'm aware that there's a little bit of a disconnect between the city and the district on a variety of issues. I can't speak to all of them in detail this evening. Again, I came just to make sure that you knew that I was a resource for you. I appreciate you allowing me to come out. I have, as I said, some business cards for your clerk. And going forward, the only thing I would ask is that if matters arise on your agenda for council that pertain to the district that you think I should be aware of, if you could shoot me an email, give me a call. It's my job to come out and see what's going on in ways that I can add value and help with those issues, alleviate concerns, whether it's from the council or for some of the residents. That's why I'm here. I appreciate you allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.
Your information, are you going to email us that?
Oh, I got
or-
tons of cards right
Right
You
here.
got them?
He's
Yeah.
got him in his hand.
All
Now I'm ready, he's gonna pass him up, pass him by.
Okay.
All right, good enough. Thank you. We'll be sure to
I was the anchor.
pay attention.
All right, that's the end of the
Thank you, sir. Thank you
public
for coming.
comments this evening. Moving on into pending and/or new legislation, starting with ordinance number 28-2015.
This is being held at second reading, if you understand. Do I have to-
Yeah, you have to still introduce it.
Okay,
Ordinance number 28, 2015.
well, yes, ordinance number 28, 2015. I move that we hold this at second reading and pending a meeting on April 16th.
Second.
All right.
All in
moving-
favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to ordinance number 29-2015.
I'd like to offer ordinance number, ordinance number 29, 2015 to be held at second reading pending a meeting on April 16th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on, resolution number 36, 2015.
I'd like to hold resolution number 36, 2015 at its first reading pending further developments with the reports.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannikin?
Yes.
Ms. Tully?
No.
Moving on to ordinance number 38-2015.
I'd like to hold ordinance number 38, 2015 at its first reading
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Just to mention to Tom, this revised record policy, under discussions tonight, it said, there was something said that the state is going to come out with new records request policy. And we want your opinion on that and your input on that for the meeting next week, if possible.
Next week,
Yeah, we're gonna have a work session,
work session, I understand, was gonna be
On the mop.
Yeah, it's supposed to be on the mop, right?
but I thought tonight someone said that this
Dan
was
did.
gonna be discussed too. Maybe it was, I misunderstood.
I'll pass that on to the law director.
All right,
Yeah, the request is to look at what's state law today, what's federal law, what is the proposed new state, to see if we even need, and our policy, do we even need to amend anything? That's all. There's a lot of players before you take care of public records, so you gotta make sure that, you know, federal takes priority, state can amend it, but can't go against federal, and then anything we do has to be in compliance.
That's a pretty big brief,
Yeah.
so that you know that. I mean,
Yeah.
there was specific questions, because what, there's an interplay between the state and federal, and the local policy can't contradict
Right.
what the state says.
Yes, that's
Federal
right.
only applies to federal jurisdiction situation. There are federal records that don't fall under the Ohio Public Records Act. So, yeah, that's a big main, maybe that would be germane for a separate work session, because that mock work session is gonna be, a big agenda.
Well, why don't we see whether we can offer you something via email so that you can react? Okay.
Right to do.
well, the state probably would take precedence, and we've heard that there's something new coming out, so Jan's suggestion is we'll just wait till it comes out.
Actually, it
It
has
is
been
not what it
published.
says.
It's been published. It's a 2015 version. It's an update. There's not a huge,
It's not a huge, the only things are that I read today, like I had nothing else to do.
yeah, really.
And the only updates are the case law footnotes, everything else is the same. So, yeah, there's a new, it's available online.
Right,
Okay,
right.
all right.
I saw it there.
All right, moving on to ordinance number 40-2015.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance 40, 2015 for a second reading by title only.
An ordinance amending the current appropriations ordinance 116-2014 to appropriate funds for a full-time human resource personnel administrator of the city of Macedonia.
Moving on, ordinance number 41-2015.
Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 41, 2015 for its second reading by title only, please.
An ordinance establishing the part-time position of public records clerk with the mayor's office and establishing compensation therefore.
Ordinance number 44-2015.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 44 for its first, second, and third reading by title only, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a contract with Specialized Construction for the 2015 repair of various streets designated for the 2015 road program.
All right, so just before we go a little bit forward on this one, this is the road program we've been talking about, where we're going to go into the neighborhood streets. We're going to be doing a lot of work through the neighborhoods this year, and this is the legislation with the contractor to get it started. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we pass and post ordinance number 44 according to law.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Ms. Tully?
Absolutely, finally, yes.
Okay, moving on to resolution number 45, 2015.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer resolution 45, 2015 for a first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
A resolution confirming the appointment of Christopher Owen to the Audit Committee to fill a vacancy of a term ending December 31st, 2016.
And what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we pass and post according to law ordinance 45, 2015.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannikin?
Yes.
Mr. Tully?
Yes.
I'd like to introduce Christopher. Chris, would you stand up, please? Thank you for volunteering and doing this
Thank
for
you.
us. Appreciate it. All right, are there any other motions or legislative actions?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer a motion authorizing the appropriation of $2,540 to be moved from general fund unencumbered fund balance to fund account 101-316-5625 for Macedonia's April 25th, 2015 Earth Day cleanup campaign and Arbor Day celebration.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'd like to invite everyone to come out that day. We do cleanup, you get T-shirts, we do all kinds of good stuff. And then we plant a tree on Arbor Day in our front yard here at City Hall. All right, that takes care of it. I don't believe there's any other motions or legislative actions. Hearing none, we'll move on to correspondence to the clerk.
I have none, sir.
Mayor's report. The Future Growth Committee has had 2 organizational meetings now, and we are gathering information to update the members as far as demographics, and where we stand in the building department as far as ongoing and new projects. The first few meetings of theirs will probably address where we are today so they can better envision where we need to be in the future. Brian France, who is our certified city planner, will be with the committee at every meeting. The committee is made up of people with diverse backgrounds. Some are citizens that could be your neighbors. Some have businesses here. There are some younger people, some older people, and professionals will be made available to them as needed. Kevin Westbrooks has been elected chairman of the committee. This committee will meet and bring recommendations forward as to what they would like to see in the future as far as Macedonia's growth. A Ledge Road Bridge meeting was held, and the bridge reconstruction is getting closer every day. The repairs to the bridge will cause road closure. It'll probably be in June. I think our goal in this was to do it when school is out, so that way there won't be interference getting the kids back and forth to school. It'll probably take 2 months for that to be done. By closing the road, we're actually making it faster. It would be probably almost double that if we did not close the road. Plus, they're actually going to be taking away stone and replacing it with concrete and beams to reinforce the bridge, and that way there won't be crumbling bridge stones falling on the cars. So start planning a detour now. Hopefully that will be the last of the road closures due to that old bridge. Don't forget, our Nixle alert system can help you get through the construction going on this summer. You can get it on your phone simply by texting our zip code 44056 to 888-777, then just hit send. You should get confirmation within a few minutes. You're going to need this because don't forget, there's going to be a lot going on in Macedonia. We just passed an ordinance authorizing a contract to move forward with neighborhood repairs. We have tons of work going on the major thoroughfares through town. Route 82 will be fixed from one end almost all the way to the other, starting with where Northfield Center is. 82 will be resurfaced to the 271 bridge. The 271 bridge is going to be widened on top, and the span underneath is going to be widened. starting at about Conrad's Tire, moving out to the east towards Twinsburg. That'll be made into 3 lanes, new intersection there at Shepherd, new light there at Shepherd. There's gonna be a ton of things going on. So Nixle is your best bet. We also have an app. You can get an app on your smartphone for Macedonia. If you get that app, you'll be able to access our website from your smartphone. And on our website, we'll try and keep you posted as far as where detours might be needed or if there's road closures. But by the end of 2016, Interstate 271, the widening of 82, the ramp relocation, that'll be history. Should be all done. And when it is all done, we will be asking, why didn't we do this sooner? So try and hang in there with this. We know it's going to be aggravating for you, but try and look what it's going to be accomplished and what we'll have when it's done. At a meeting and groundbreaking at the Cuyahoga Valley Career Center last week, local elected officials were made aware of a new addition being built there for robotics. As our world changes, there becomes new challenges for the teachers who prepare the children for the workplace. And by the way, while I was talking to our local teachers who were there for the ceremony, they made mention to me of the amount of new families moving into Macedonia. It seems like our younger grades in the schools are really getting filled up. So there's a lot of young people coming into town. A lot of young kids might be chasing that ball out in the street. So there might not have been kids there last summer that are going to be there this summer. So please try and pay attention and be aware of this. As the weather warms, you might see more children than ever before in Macedonia. In less than a month, the city has a levy renewal on the ballot. The operating real estate tax of 5.07 mils has not increased in the past 40 years at least. Please remember, your vote is important this coming May 5th. This levy, which is issue 12, generates less than $600,000 a year, but it's much needed revenue. And what does it cost the taxpayer? About $3 a month for every $100,000 of real estate value. $3 a month. Again, this is a renewal, not a new tax. Total revenue for the month of March from our mayor's court was $46,433.51. And that concludes my report for this evening, and we'll go right into committee reports.
Mr. Mayor, Charter Review met yesterday and completed our initial review of the charter. There will be another meeting on April 15th, at which point there's approximately 12 issues on the table. Charter Review will be voting on which issues they want to send to council for consideration. I'd like to thank all the people on Charter Review for all the effort that they've done in participating in that. Also, then, as was earlier discussed, Planning Commission will be meeting on Monday, April 20th at 5:30. There's numerous issues regarding signs and buildings, and of course the soccer field or the ambassador facility, which we discussed, will be I assume will be presented to Planning Commission at that time.
Are there any other committee reports? Hearing none, department reports. Jim?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Just want to let everyone know that we are moving along. The playground set at Sugar Bush is complete. Hopefully, weather permitting, within the next couple of weeks, I will have the sidewalks poured, the pavilion poured, but of course, we're right in spring, so hopefully the weather will cooperate with us. And then after that, then we'll do final grading, which I don't see that happening probably till May when it dries up. And then we can seed it and do all those other things. And it's really coming along. It looks nice. And I think once everything's poured, we have new grills in there, I think we'll start seeing more people there. And if funding, if I have enough money left over, I'm considering putting in some asphalt handicap parking spots, right where you would enter to go into the pavilion area.
Are we gonna have a kind of an official groundbreaking for the new area
It would
there?
be nice. I mean,
Be
there's still a
nice.
lot there to do.
Yeah.
And hopefully in next year's budget, they can look at maybe doing the parking lot, and maybe improving the ball field. I mean, but it's coming along. It's really.
I'm saying, you know, when you get all of that new playground area done, it might be nice to have just a little celebration there.
Sure, I will let everyone know when that happens. And then also, all the material has been ordered for the gazebo. It will be coming in next week, and the park's not gonna look too good for a while, but it's gonna take us a month and a half to get
Okay.
things ready, because we literally are lifting the roof off the gazebo.
Okay.
Yeah, because we have to replace the floor, which is rotting, and quite a few other things that we're gonna be doing. But I think when it's done, everybody's gonna be happy with it, because everything's being done professionally. There are gonna be trees cut out of there, there's gonna be movement, the tank, the cannon will be put in different places. And we're also gonna remove the Fireman's Memorial from that park. We're gonna actually move it to the corner of the park in 82 when we do that. We're
Okay.
gonna make that, improve that whole area. I talked to Tim about that, and he agrees with the move.
I see.
So that will be on the corner of Park in 82.
As part of the rain garden was gonna?
Yes, it's part of the EPA improvement that we're gonna be doing there. So
Okay.
that'll just, you know,
Actually, it might be better highlighted there, I think. I
Yeah.
agree with.
yeah, and Tim feels the same way, that the fire department will be able to take care of it better.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, the pipe and everything for all the new roads we're putting in, that's been ordered. Hopefully that'll be in next week. And the men have already done the ditching, and so we'll go, it should be saw cut next week, and we should be going right into replacing the crossovers. And usually at the rate that we work on those, it only takes a day for each one. Okay?
But you're gonna coordinate that with
Yes,
the,
and we're hoping,
road
I
repair
will
people.
work with Mike and Nick, and we'll try to have all that done and coordinate the road so we can get everything done before they go into anywhere where we, you know, have the crossovers. Also, my bids for the roof should be in next week, and then I'm hoping to have that in the paper within the next week or so, 2 weeks maybe. It'll be in the paper, and, because I'd like to get the roof going here. And then,
you might mention it's the roof to City Hall there.
I'm sorry, it's the roof at City Hall. That's what the bids are. And then, to end this, I just want to go over again with what happens with Ohio Edison, because you had sent me an email.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that if
Yeah.
you didn't bring it up.
And I want to explain this. We depend on all of you, and we depend on the police department to tell us when lights are out. When they're out, you let us know, and we contact Ohio Edison. Ohio Edison is responsible for all the areas except for the private areas, which includes Arbor Trails, the Preserve, Villa Lago, Spring Hill, and Spruce Hill. They do not go in there. And we, as the city, the employees, we only do the rec center, this City Hall parking lot, and the parks, lighting. That's all we are in charge of and take care of. The only time you'll ever see a city employee go out and work on a street light is if it's been hit and there's wires
By a plow
exposed,
truck?
which it happens a lot.
Yeah.
And wires are exposed, we go out there for safety reasons and we'll cap them, and we tuck them in and we hide them so that it can't hurt anybody. And then we put a barricade there, and then we contact Ohio Edison. The one thing I want to say about Ohio Edison, and this goes for any utility, they're pretty rough to work with. And when we call them, we're hoping that the resident will let us know where the address is, where the location is, so that we can get it fixed for them. And then if it isn't done within 2 weeks, you should contact us again, because we don't know. There's nobody out here at night to see if it's been fixed or if they're working properly. Kevin will always call me and say, you know, those lights are still out. We're still having a problem. So I have to continually, and the girls, Sharon or Laura, have to constantly call them. And that's what happens here. So even if you're calling us and we report it to Ohio Edison, if nothing's done within 2 weeks, call us again, and we'll call them again. And we'll keep this going until they fix it.
I've gotten, as I indicated to you on email, complaints from a number of areas in Macedonia that there have been street lights that have been out for up to a year or 2 years even. And sometimes they come into, actually there will be, Ohio Edison will show up, it'll work for a couple of weeks and then it goes out again, which is kind of scary when you're waiting that long. But I'm wondering why there isn't something at a higher level in Ohio Edison that doesn't get
We're
pulled.
about as high as we're gonna get.
Okay.
Outside of going to their board of directors. I mean, you have complete district managers that are in charge of all Northeast Ohio. You know, and we have 2 of them out of Toledo and here in Cleveland. We have all the subordinates underneath that we could go to and we call that are in charge of doing all these things.
Right.
So I contacted all those individuals again, and I have a pretty good rapport with them. And I wasn't too happy with them, and they know it. And I'm hoping that it gets fixed and resolved. But we have a big problem in Lake Forest.
Yes, well, there's also other areas.
And it's all electrical problems. There's fault lines that are bad.
Okay.
And we just put in a brand new fixture, and 4 months later, it's out again.
I see.
So I have to call Ohio Edison. But this is what happens when you have to deal with utilities. I want everybody to know, we're not forgetting about it, but it helps if you call us again, or even email us, say it's not fixed, there's a problem.
Okay, so
And we'll take care of it.
if a resident, I know that they've reported to me that, you know, from the HOAs and also from some residents, that they persistently call Ohio Edison and sometimes they do show up. But it sounds like maybe there's no performance standard, you can have a
Right.
light out for 2 years.
It'd be better if they called us,
Uh-huh.
because they let us pursue
Uh-huh.
Ohio Edison. I think we'll get a little more response from them.
It's interesting because maybe we do need to go to the board of directors.
I don't know, but
Okay.
the people that I have the contacts with are
Right.
pretty
Okay.
Jim, I just have 2 questions for you. Garden Club, were you gonna be contacting them at all when you get
Yeah,
to
they're
the
gonna
Memorial
be
Park?
working
Because they've
with-
done a lot of work, and it's all been volunteer, and they donated so many flowers. So I was just wondering if you were gonna contact them when you do Memorial Park?
We already have.
Okay.
They have a new president now, Bob Parks.
Okay.
The mayor and I met with him, and he even said himself that they want to participate more.
Okay.
They just don't want to go in, plant some flowers and walk away.
Okay.
What they're going to do is actually spend more time with us, or at Memorial, and we'll take care of the flowers,
Right.
whatever they plant. They're going to spend more time.
And then plus, we just hired that
Yeah, we're
gentleman who
gonna,
has landscaping,
yeah.
architect.
It's actually a
right. Okay.
local landscape.
Okay, that was one of my questions, and my next question is, since you just answered it, that you are responsible for the city electricity,
Parking lots.
the
yes.
parking lot. When is that pole ever
Well,
gonna get fixed outside the
that
city
pole was
hall?
replaced once already.
It's what?
It was replaced once already and then hit again.
It was hit again, boy.
It was hit again. That's why it's collapsed again.
Okay, I was
One
just
of the
wondering-
things that I feel is bad is that it was a design flaw. You don't put a light 1 foot by a curb. You know, I mean, it should have been back at least 3 more feet, so when a car backs up, it hits the curb, it doesn't hit the light. Now, the car doesn't even hit the curb, it hits the light first. So, I mean, but yeah, that's the second time it's been
Right, it
hit.
just seems like it's been for years, it's
Yeah.
been the same
Well, no,
way,
it was
so.
replaced, it was fixed, and then it got hit again.
All right, just wondering,
I
since you answered that question.
must have missed that, Jim. How quickly did they go at it?
I haven't seen it fixed, so.
It happened this winter.
I believe you. Got a lot of people backing around there, maybe that was it.
But,
All right, those
that's
were my only two questions.
Thank you, Jim. Mike?
Thanks, Mayor. I want to thank council for approving the 2015 road program. Specialized Construction is a very good contractor. They performed work on some of our other roads. North Bedford, Shepherd, and South Freeway were examples of their roads, and they are holding up very nice. I think the design on it is good. I want to thank GPD for doing a lot of work to that program and analyzing it. They did a good job. The stormwater mapping is complete. We're going to try to get council that map, at least to show you guys what it looks like, what you guys spent your money on. I'm
Yes.
hoping to get that to you the next council meeting.
35,000.
Yes.
Right, okay.
First Watch and Antonio's Pizza were given occupancies. So you're going to see First Watch opening up here in the next couple weeks. Enclave is moving along very good, and we're hoping to have the first occupancy this month. And the catch basin inspection was started. As long as we could get somebody from the service department to help out with that, one of our inspectors will be doing it. That concludes my report.
Very good. Thank you. Angela?
Thank you. This is my last opportunity to give a big push for the city's first organized 5K, which is scheduled for Sunday, April 19th. It is the Nightway 5K, which will start and also finish at the high school stadium. It'll take place in some of the residential streets on South Bedford and off of South Bedford, over in that area. So we are very excited. I encourage people to please get online and register in advance. We have a link on our webpage, which is macrec.com, or you can go to hermescleveland.com and register there as well. Online registration will close on April 17th at 9 a.m. and after that point in time, you can still participate, but you'll have to come register the day of the event. And it will cost you a little bit more if you are not efficient in registering in advance. But we really hope to get a good turnout. It is rain or shine. I know April weather can be a little bit iffy, but we will all be there, so we hope that you will all be there and join us as well. So again, it's Sunday, April 19th, and I hope to see everybody there, and I hope to get more people online registering here in the next week or so. Thank you.
Very good. All right, Nick?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council, for passing ordinance number 44 for the 2015 road program. Engineering Department will keep you updated through the Mayor's office as activities are scheduled. Once we know what the schedules are going to be, both for your local road program as well as the Route 82 improvements that the Mayor had mentioned. You'll notice Dominion East Ohio Gas contractors up and down the 82 corridor. They're relocating gas mains. Ohio Edison's relocating utility poles. Once that right-of-way is clear of the utilities, you're going to see ODOT's contractor start performing roadway improvements. Once I have that information, I will make it available to you. So if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out to me. That's
All
it.
right. Thank you. Tom?
For a council's work session next week, we're working on a document for discussion purposes, and it retains the concept that you have, but number one, it's suggesting that it becomes codified so that it's in the codified list, so that when businesses are shopping for municipalities and gals to move to, it's readily searchable by going through Google, then going to the online codified ordinance section. All of it's there, so that requirements, the eligibility, the fees would be listed, so a corporation can find it. One. Number two, I'm suggesting a name change. MOP sounds good, looks good, it's easy to remember, but when you read the ordinance, it really has nothing to do about occupancy. It's a jobs creation program, so the suggestion would be that this would be Macedonia Occupancy and Jobs Creation Program, because that's basically what the current ordinance does, and which this new draft will enhance and highlight. It also then gets away from the complexity of the current drafting of the ordinance, the current draft of the ordinance, in that it seems as if the current ordinance has been pieced together with other several ordinances. And there has been discussions over the years as to whether or not it applies to. It applies to, I can't believe everybody can hear me. Everybody couldn't hear me. And there has been discussions over the years as to whether or not it applies to current businesses currently located in the city of Macedonia. In one section it doesn't. It talks about new businesses occupying vacant land, vacant buildings.
Right.
But then there's another section that absolutely does. So this clears that up, breaks those two components into two separate sections with separate eligibility requirements. It removes, at least this working document for discussion purposes, any discretion. You're either eligible or you're not eligible. You know right away, corporation or business, existing or new, takes a look at the ordinance, they can be determining that right away. It also adds a little bit more structure with regards to the process, the procedure, filing fee, that the annual reports are due by a specific date, and that if you do those late, no matter what your excuse is, there's a fee, administrative fee that would be placed upon the corporation or the business at that time. So again, we'll get it to you ahead of time. I'm trying to get it to the mayor as well, also to the members of the tax review board that have been invited by council to be at the meeting, so that you can use this document to create the discussion. And there's no pride of ownership in this. This is your document, so you tell us what you want. We'll take care of it from there, okay? Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Tom. Vince, do you have anything for tonight?
No, I have no report, Mayor.
All right, very good. Do we have any new business?
New business, real quick. Thank you for the article on the Science Olympiad teams out of the two schools. I believe it's middle school and the high school. How ironic that we're creating a robotics lab and we have Science Olympiad teams that are going on further in the competition. Science was not my favorite subject, so I'm in awe of those kids because to me it was baffling. Second of all, I'd like to say welcome to the Vitamin Shop. First Watch will be opening up. These are all in the area of the previous gas station, the previous Sunoco. And Antonio's Pizza, my husband was the first ever customer in that shop. He just said he wanted to go try it, and they were excited, and he introduced to the entire family. Excellent pizza. I think we eat at every pizza place in town. So we've just added another one to our list, but would ask that you take a look and maybe go over and stop and also use those as, unfortunately, we are saying goodbye to Sears. You know, we have other businesses that are opening that we can go and participate and shop at. Thank you.
Very good. Any old business? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, Josephine?
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar?
Yes.
Thank you for coming. We'll see you next time. Bernie, can you give me that?
There you go.
Thank you.
Do you have any luck with that one?